Hi, this is Leah from the Chilium Creative. Welcome back to my channel. I had a project perfect for fall that I wanted to share with you. I've been inspired recently by a couple different people using their inks and their oxides to make some really pretty fall backgrounds. And I made these tags. I did a little bit of experimenting, but I landed on manila folder tags. Basically, I use recycled manila folders, file folders from my own personal stash, and then also I pick them up anytime I see them at the thrift store. I'm going to show you exactly what I did and how I kind of got this look. Now, each time it varied a little bit, so you may not get the exact same results as I do. The point is to have some fun with it, find some colors that you really like. We're going to start with our tag bases. I've already cut some tags here out of, like I said, recycled manila file folders. So we're going to start with that. I did test out doing some clear gesso on them first. It didn't really affect how the color adhered to the tags, so I don't think that's really necessary. So these are just plain manila tags with nothing on them. And I'm going to try, or I'm going to use the technique that was actually somewhat new to me. And it's using multiple colors of ink at one time. So before you freak out and get scared, none of the ink pads touch each other or touch other colors. But we're going to use some plastic packaging. If you have a glass mat, you can do that as well. I like to use the plastic packaging. So what I'm going to start with is laying down some color on the packaging just directly from the ink pad, and I'm just gonna put probably about 3 colors on here. I'm gonna do, that was the forest moss, this is ground espresso, that one's not quite as juicy, and I'm gonna do rusty hinge. And then what I do is I take my water bottle, my spray bottle, and I don't try not to get too close because then it kind of sprays the ink everywhere, but from a distance I'll spritz it with some water. And then I like to use one of my silicone brushes to just kind of make sure that the water is mixed in with the ink well. And once it's on here, I don't actually mind if it mixes a little. It's gonna mix some on the tag anyway. So I just kind of do that so that it puddles up nicely. And then we're gonna dip our tag into the ink. So I kind of go for somewhere in the middle of the 3 colors. So that's already looking pretty cool. Now I don't want this to be plain, so I'm going to dip it again, probably more on the orange side, maybe add a little bit more green. That's looking pretty nice. And you can see there's some mixing going on, but I'm okay with that. We'll do another one. Do some more brown on there. Orange. And you just kind of dip and dab as you feel, as you're feeling it, and whatever you are liking, go with it, It's just an experiment. And now towards the end of the ink, they definitely mix a lot. So that one's a bit more mixed than the others. I'm going to spritz a little bit more water on here just to make sure I can use this ink up. I don't want to waste anything because these inks are not cheap. So I like to get as much as I can out of them. And we're going to get inky fingers. There's no getting around that. Okay, I think that's as much as I can do with that one, really. I have a couple extra tags over here. I'm going to try and pick up some of this, the rest of this ink. It's not gonna, these are actually gessoed, but there's not much ink left on the packaging here, so it's not gonna be a whole lot. Just kind of swish them around to pick up what I can. And this is just creating the background, so these will be used later for something else. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and clean this off. Just spritz some more water on it. Use a paper towel and wipe it down. And then I can put more ink on it. I'm going to quick do a heat dry on these, and then we'll add some mahogany. Okay, so these are mostly dry now, and you can see some of the oxidation happening, a bit of chalkiness, and that's what I really like about the oxides, is it adds even more depth, I think, with the oxidation. This one, it's really interesting. I think it's the ground espresso that ends up doing this. It almost has a purple tone to it, which I think is also a color of fall. So this is exactly the look that I'm wanting. So I'm going to go ahead and add an additional layer of the aged mahogany and the distress ink. I don't have this one in the oxide, so that's part of the reason why I'm doing the ink, but I like the look, the layered look that it gives too. And this is the only red that I have in my stash, so it works pretty well for this. So again, I spritz it with water, and then I'm using my little silicone brush to kind of mix it together, make sure we've got some nice puddling. I call it puddling. I don't know what else to call it. And then I'm going to, again, take my tag and dip it in. Now, I don't want large areas of the manila showing. I don't mind some small areas, but I mostly want color. So I'm going to kind of focus on those areas as I'm dipping it into the mahogany. If I can. We'll see how that goes. All right, now this looks really vibrant right now, but when it dries, it's not going to be quite so red. And then our last tag, there's not a whole lot of ink left on here. All right, and again, I'm just gonna clean this off a little bit. All right, now I'm gonna dry these and kind of look to see if there's anything else I want to add, any other colors I want to add. I don't think I will, but I don't know for sure until I've dried them, so I'll be right back. These are mostly dried. I just use my heat gun to dry them. Another thing that you can do if you end up with puddles on your tag or your paper, whatever, your substrate, and you don't want those so much liquid on the card, you can also take a paper towel and kind of dab the water off, and it also adds some nice texture to the background there. And you'll notice that two of these came out very similar, and then this one is very different looking. So and part of that is because this one by the time I dipped this one into the ink, there wasn't a whole lot of ink left on the surface. So it's giving off a different look, which I like. I like both of them. So from here, now I'm going to do some stamping. So let me get my stamps out and I'll show you how I do that process. I've got just a piece of scrap paper for behind so that I can stamp off the edge of the tags. This is a stamp set. I think I got it from Amazon. I don't even remember for sure. I don't have the brand information with it anymore. But I really like the detail on these autumn leaves. I have a couple different sets of autumn leaf stamp sets, but this one I really liked with the details. So I'm going to be using these stamps and then the VersaFine Clear Chianti. I really liked the kind of subtleness of this color with these backgrounds. You can obviously use whatever stamp ink color you want for your stamping. I also did, on a couple of these, I also did like a brown black. I think it was this Fallen Leaves from VersaFine Clear, which I think that looks nice also. And then it just gives a little bit more subtle look with the Chianti color. So I'm just gonna pick some stamps, and I really like this maple leaf one. I'm going to go ahead and take some other leaves off that I think I might want to use. I like the little acorn, and I really like all of the stamps on this set, but I'll know that we will need all of them. Okay. Sorry, that was probably kind of loud. Am I in frame? That is a good question. Move this up a little bit. Okay. So, just gonna ink, make sure that's on my block. Just gonna ink this up. And then I like to do it off the edge because I feel like it gives more of a feeling that they're falling or that they have fallen. But obviously that is up to you how you want to do that. And then I'm just going to stamp this off here, and we'll go to another one. We'll do the oak leaf here. I'll do this one this direction. Yeah, I'm pretty sure these stamps were from Amazon. They're not great quality material. They don't always love to stick to my acrylic block, although they stick to the plastic packaging really well, so I don't know. Let's see, do I want this one? Yeah, I think I'm going to do that one. And then maybe we'll do a little acorn on the other side. Go like this. Sorry if I'm shaking the camera. Get my little block, and we'll do an acorn over here somewhere. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I just find stamping really peaceful and calming. That one's a little smudged, but that's okay. All right, we'll do the next one. And obviously, stamp placement is up to you. I mean, really, all of this, any of this is up to you. You are the one making the tag. You can do it however you want to. Hopefully this just will provide a little bit of inspiration, maybe a little bit different way to do it, to make some backgrounds. And fall is like one of my favorite seasons. And it's not because of Halloween, which I know a lot of people are like, they love fall because of Halloween. But I've just never been one to celebrate Halloween. I don't like the creepy, scary stuff. So, but I love the fall color and the leaves changing and all that. All right. And once this is done, I'm going to let them dry for a little bit before moving on to the next step. But really, our backgrounds are pretty much finished at this point. So there's that one. So I'm just going to let those dry before we add anything else to them. The rest of it is the rest of the process, the rest of the steps, I guess, are really just decorating to your content, to your desire. I'm gonna do a little bit of layering collage with some focal points, and then I think with these I did a little bit of splatter. Yeah, I did do a little bit of white splatter just to add a little bit more dimension to it. So once these dry, I will come back and then we'll do the next step. Okay, these are completely dry because they dried overnight. I didn't have time to film more last night, so it is the next day. But these are completely dry. You can tell there's a little bit of a different look, even in the stamping from this one versus these others. So the next step I'm going to do is just ink around the edges with ground espresso, oxide ink. And that's just to give it a bit of a border. I did this on the other ones. You don't have to do this. Obviously, this is to your, if you like this look, you can. If you prefer not to, don't have to do it. So I'm just gonna ink these up real quick. Alrighty. So now that that's done, I'm going to look at doing a little bit of a collage here. And then I've got some focal points picked out to add on top of it. What I did with the other ones was I used some coffee dyed ledger paper. I just really like the green with the distressed look. And I like the grid patterns on the paper. This is modern ledger paper. It's blank, doesn't have any writing on it. That I buy at the thrift store usually. You can find, that might be a little bit small, but we'll try that. You can find, some of this actually has, I was testing out distress ink or oxide ink with splatter on it. So some of this is, it was coffee dyed originally, but then I also added some inks onto it. But you can find, at least at my local thrift stores, it's fairly common to find modern day notepads or ledger pads. And I think they add a nice, I think I want that side. They add a nice texture and background to projects. I think I want a larger piece on here. And then we'll use some book page. And I'm trying not to overthink this very much, but I want mostly text from the book page. This might be a little small. Yeah, that's a little small. And I don't care, I actually prefer it if the text is not upright because I don't want that to be a distraction. It's really just to add some additional texture. Let's see if I have another piece in here. Probably a bit small too. I had some small scraps in my little scrap bin, so and then I'm just kind of playing around with the orientation. And then I have some tracing paper. You can also use vellum or tissue paper and get a similar effect. I just have a lot of tracing paper because I like it. It is a little bit more transparent than some of the tissue paper that I have. So that's part of the reason why I like to use it. So it adds a layer without covering up too much what's underneath. I think I like that. And tracing paper is another one that I find pretty commonly at thrift stores. This one might be a bit big. All right, and then I have a few focal points. I was enjoying the insect theme, so that's why I have a few different insects here. And then I kind of just look at what pops, what I think goes well with the color scheme and the size. This one's a frog or a toad, I'm not sure which. He kind of blends into that one a bit too much, I think. I don't know. He doesn't seem quite the right size. I kind of like that one better. All right, so now that I have those picked out, actually, do I want to do a mushroom? I'm liking the insects. Okay, so I think all of these images I got from Biodiversity Heritage Library, their website. They are an organization that has scanned in many antique books and nature journals and things like that, and you can access their images for free and download them as many as you want, which is fantastic. And so I downloaded quite a few of their images, and then I just resized them so that I have multiple options. I'll leave the link below in case you want to check it out. So the next thing I'm going to do, what I did on the other ones was I did some splatter on the backgrounds before I glued down the focal points. So I'm going to ink up the focal points around the edges and then glue down the scraps of paper, and then I'll probably do some splattering, and I don't know if I'll do the splattering on camera, but I'll come back once that's completed. So I've done my splatter. I did dry it with a heat gun. I wanted to show you on this one. When you use, so I just use watered down acrylic paint, white acrylic paint for the splatter. But when you use the distress inks or oxides, the Ranger ones, they are still water reactive even after they've dried. So you can see on this one in particular, when I added the white splatters, the ones that are on the regular paper that does not have distress ink on them, they're perfectly white. But if you look up here, they've taken on some of the color from behind them. So if you let the paint sit even longer and try to air dry, they may pick up the color that they've been splattered onto. So just be aware of that if you are wanting to use water-based medium on top of the distress ink. So I've gone ahead and inked around my focal points here. I've picked out a couple labels, which I actually I'm going to ink around the labels as well. And we're going to glue those down, and then the next, and I mean really the final step is to add toppers to them, which is what I did on here on the previous ones. You really don't have to add that if you don't want to, and you can add it, you can even not do eyelets or whatever, you can do it however you want to, but I'm going to go ahead and add some sari silk on the top once I've got these glued down. So I'm just going to ink the labels real quick, and then we will finish the tags off. All right, so I've got some eyelets out. I've got my crocodile. Forgot the name of it for a second. And I'm just going to use this to punch some holes and then add some eyelets. Okay, so I have this sari silk that's kind of a brownish, greenish, purplish color. Depends on where you are cutting, where from the bundle you are cutting from. But I like the sari silk because it has kind of a, it's thicker than like ribbon or something, and it gives a lot of nice texture. And some people iron their sari silk from what I understand. I do not iron mine. I'm not going through that kind of work. And I kind of like the messiness of it. Although sometimes it's hard to thread it through. So I just thread it through, and then for these what I did was I just stapled them with a little tiny staple. So I think that's about long enough. So I'm going to cut these first, and then I'll come back and staple them. You can also tie a knot, so you would need them a little bit longer, and then you can tie a knot, but I don't like the bulk of that typically, so I will a lot of times just staple them. You can also glue them down to where the glue isn't visible. And I got this sari silk off of Amazon. That was before I knew that there were a lot of sources for sari silk. Probably better sources for sari silk. I know now that there's a lot on Etsy and that are hand dyed, and you can get a lot more different colors and stuff like that. So I will try to leave a couple links to some Etsy shops that I have seen some really nice sari silk on. Okay, I'm gonna grab my tiny attacher and then we'll staple these on. Here we go. It is literally called the tiny attacher. It's the Tim Holtz one, but I know that there are some other options out there for this too. I like it because it has a smaller, you can use a regular stapler too, but I like it because it has a small staple. Hence the name tiny. And then I usually don't try to, I try to open it up a little bit and then try to kind of offset the front and the back just so that both pieces are, it doesn't always work out that way because, you know, you're trying to hold it and staple it at the same time, but that's what I try to do. Like that. And like I said, if you don't like the look of the staple, then you can always just add a bit of glue on the card and then stick the sari silk down. I like the staple, so, or at least I don't mind it. So that's what I do. Might need to glue those antennae down a little bit better. All right, there we go. And then you can, you know, trim the edges, whatever, you know, if you want it at an angle or something like that, you can do that. Although with sari silk, because it's so bunched up, that doesn't always work right. But there we go. So these are really fairly simple. I'll hold them up so you can see them closer. You know, and then you have the back to write on if you want to. But I just really like the colors, and obviously you don't have to do insects, but that's just what I liked. So yeah, hopefully that inspires you a little bit. It's kind of a fun fall project, and yeah, it was nice to do a little bit of a festive project for the season. And like I said, I'm not a big Halloween person, so but I do love fall, and I love the fall colors from the leaves. So anyway, I hope you enjoy. It's been a little bit since I've done one of these long form videos. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment below, you know, whether, you know, maybe one part of this that you really liked. And if you have any ideas for other ways that you could get a similar result, or maybe things you want to you would change up, leave that in a comment below also. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.